We all have to pull our weight." "I reckoned it was time for me to sign up," said Reg, "after all the air raids we've had." God, yes. They'd lived with air raids since late summer. The whole of Manchester had been affected one way or another, as bombers had flown over time and again, dropping their deadly cargo of oil bombs and high explosives, the intimidation increasing after the Battle of Britain ended. In recent weeks, the abattoir had been hit, as had the Brook Bond tea warehouse. The damage to Salford Town Hall had resulted in the burial of many records, though not in the burial of any people, thank God. And mercifully there had been no casualties when Manchester Royal Infirmary's nurses' home was hit. After the numbers of dead and injured in the bombings throughout October, it seemed there hadn't been so many casualties in November, and that was a blessing. Mind you, friends and relatives of the Winter family of 74 Button Lane in Wythenshawe probably wouldn't appreciate Dot's verdict. She had heard about the Winters from someone at work. That was how it was when you worked on the railways. You were surrounded by folk from all over, and so you heard the details from all over. But, as shocking and heart-rending as it all was, you had to be grateful that Manchester hadn't been Coventry-ted. Coventry-ted. A cold shudder passed through Dot. In spite of the fire crackling in the grate and the heat from the oven in which she was cooking steak and kidney pie and baked potatoes, poor Coventry had had 7 bells bombed out of it 2 weeks ago. Pray to God they would never have cause to coin the word Manchestered. Dot's heart swelled with love and concern for her young colleagues, Joan, Mabel and Alison, who were members of first aid parties, heading out each night they were on duty, not knowing whether they would spend a restless night where they were stationed, or whether they might be called upon to brave the streets during an air raid. Alison lived to the north of Manchester, and did her first aiding over that way, but Joan and Mabel's depot was St. Cuthbert's School, which wasn't more than a hop and a skip from Dot's house. It hadn't always been Joan and Mabel. It used to be Joan, Mabel and Lizzie. But all too soon and far too young, Lizzie had lost her life in an air raid. Poor Lizzie. And poor Lizzie's mum. "I'm proud of you, Reg," said Dot. She waited a moment. Would it happen again? That surge of love that had come over her during the Dunkirk evacuation. Along with hundreds of thousands all over the country, Reg had mucked in during that national emergency, helping local soldiers get home. He'd even carried his shaving tackle in his pocket, just in case any of the filthy, battered, exhausted lads wanted a shave. Soppy old bugger. But he'd done his bit, and old remembered love had ballooned inside Dot's chest. Would it happen again now? Did she want it to? The door burst open and the kids threw themselves in. "Mummy!" Jenny launched herself at Pammy. "Jimmy's cheating!" "It's only tiddlywinks," Dot began. "Jimmy had cheat at solitaire," said Sheila, unperturbed. "Never mind that now," said Dot. "Grandpa's going to be an ARP warden." "Will they give you the money back on your gas mask?" Jimmy demanded, his blue eyes, just like Harry's, sparkling in his freckled face. "What on earth is he talking about?" Pammy looked at Reg. Jimmy burst into song. He had a surprisingly good voice. It was a shame that when he'd been invited to sing in the choir, he'd taken some indoor fireworks with him. He hadn't been asked back. "Under the spreading chestnut tree, Neville Chamberlain said to me, if you want to get your gas mask free, join the blinking ARP. Jenny gasped. "Jimmy's a blinking?" "It's the words of the song," Jimmy protested. "It's swearing," Jenny retorted. "It's a pretend polite..."